Oh. Okay, that's fine. Right. Oh, I went right up to it.
Right, I'm just I'm just turning the thing on.
Sorry?
I'm just turning this on.
Right.
Good morning, everyone. Can we start? Good morning, Kun Tom. Good evening.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Hello. We're in Oklahoma, America.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Tom.
Hello.
Morning.
Hello. Good
Happy
morning.
birthday for the other day.
Hello, Sarah. Hello.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, evening, Pina. Not hearing anything.
สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะอาจารย์
สวัสดีครับอาจารย์ครับ
สวัสดีค่ะ
Sawadee krab, Sanachan.
Is there any question? What would you like to talk about?
Pina or Roti or anyone, Tom and Bev, anyone in North America, and you have anything you'd like to bring up? So just at the end of the discussion on Saturday, Jan, we were talking about the Bawanga cheetahs. I'm sorry, I realized afterwards my microphone wasn't on, so I wasn't responding at all, or it couldn't be heard. And like you were saying, like we were discussing, so the same Bawanga cheetahs through these life, so we can call this stream the one that's referred to as this person or that person, and the stream is always being interrupted by different sense and mind or processes, but it's the same stream continues for this life and then different stream for the next life. But these are just vipaka cheetahs conditioned by the same karma, and a bit like in deep sleep, just those vipaka cheetahs. But usually one wouldn't refer to them as personality. One would just refer to them as the stream of vipaka cheetahs that keep life going for this particular life, and the personality one would refer to as the accumulations. Like you said, the accumulations of the child may be quite different from the adult, the loba, the dosa, the wisdom, the kindness. These are the accumulations that usually we refer to as this or that personality. So I would have just referred to the Bawanga cheetahs, the Vipaka cheetahs, as this stream of continuum, the stream of Vipaka cheetahs. That was all. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thank
Is there Bawanga now?
in between, whenever there is no sense or mind or process, there are Bawanga cheetahs all the time, continuing life, just interrupted from time to time. It seems that there are always sense and mind or processes, but actually the Bawanga cheetahs are the norm. The Bawanga cheetahs are rising and falling away. interrupted all the time. Like when one is in deep sleep, it's more obvious when you're awake that there must have been Bhavanga Chitas all that time. But even now, there are Bhavanga Chitas completely unknown, just different Vipaka Chitas.
No one can stop the way Chitta is. When it has conditioned to arise to be birth, it continues on because each moment Chitta arises and then falls away. Just only one at a time. And the Pachaya, the condition in that Chitta, after it has fallen away, it conditioned the next Chitta to succeed instantly, no gap at all. And that's the way that no one can understand Chitta now or any time, that it is moment of experiencing whatever from birth up to now. For example, who think about Chitta, which experiences what is there appearing. Usually, no thought about it at all. So it's unknown as just the reality which arises and experiences an object. It cannot do anything at all, just be conditioned to arise and experience that very object. No expectation, unknown, that is now arising and following. And just not just one Chitta, because one Chitta arises and falls away, and it conditions the next Chitta. Depending on conditions, what is the next one? If Buddha didn't enlighten the truth, who knows that Chitta is moment when the object of this world does not appear to any doorway of the sixth doorway. So how can there be the experience of what it's now experiencing? So at this moment, from learning about the way Chitta is, there must be the Pavanga in between each process, but no understanding of Chitta as it is. So how can there be the understanding of that which arises in between processes? That's why we learn to understand what is there now, because what is now is the way Dhamma is. Dhamma does not belong to anyone. That's why we use the term for whatever is real. It has its own characteristic. It has its own function, and no one can change it. That's why neither is seeing, but who knows what is there before seeing and what is after seeing. Because the characteristic of that which experiences does not show up as it is, as just no one there at all. Only that which arises and experiences the object. And the object of Chitta which experiences it, the object is known because it appears, but the Chitta which experiences it does not appear. But there must be a reality arising, experiencing that object. So that object is now appearing. Otherwise, what can make the object now appear? Impossible. It's there by conditions, but when there is no experiencing, it does not be the object of this very moment. That's why no matter what moment, whatever appears, because Chitta arises and experiencing it, and there must be many Chittas in succession, different Chittas, and one is Bhavanga, which is conditioned by the same karma as the birth moment to continue on this lifespan, not to change from this person to be monkey or dog or whatever, because of the karma kept on producing Bhavanga and other vipaka, which can arise in this life only, not the other life. See, all by conditions. Even right now, what appears because Chitta, the reality which can experience it, is conditioned to arise. If it does not arise, that which now appearing cannot appear at all. That's why this is the way to understand what life is, not in anyone's control at all. No one can make whatever arising at all. It's already conditioned to arise. For example, the word, the sound, the hearing, see, each moment is so very, very short. as short as no one can experience just one reality, only one at a time. But there must be many moments. For example, right now, one opens one's eyes instantly, many things around. It means that what appears has to impinge on the eye base. Otherwise, no citta can arise to experiencing it. So learning to understand the truth of Dhamma, they are conditioned to arise. That's all. And whatever arises cannot stay long at all. As soon as it has arisen, performing its function, it's gone instantly, no matter what. But the rupa, that which cannot experience, has long lifespan, or it can stay longer than citta. And from the teachings of the Buddha, it's known as 17 moments of citta, one rupa, arise and falls away. And it has to be like this. Nobody can change because it's the absolute truth. That's all. What is that? From moment to moment, even right now, or any time in samsara, the circle of birth and death. As long as there are conditions for whatever to arise, when time comes, when the conditions are ready, no one can stop the arising of what is now arises and experience what is now appearing. So there must be bhavanka, because the karma, condition bhavanka, and vipaka, depending on different karma or the same karma, which produce patisanti, to experience the object right now, who knows? But when karma hasn't ended yet, there must be the arising and falling away, which is vipaka, the result of that karma, and there must be the processes through the sensor or mind on in between. That's all in one life. Each life, it has to be by its own conditions. So even now, Bhavanka does not appear, the citta before seeing and the citta after seeing does not appear at all. So in order to understand the truth of what is there, just learn to understand that what we take for I see, actually, it's only a reality which arises to experience what is there as seeing or hearing or thinking. But there must be many cittas in between. But when it doesn't appear, how can anyone know it? That's why even the moment of experiencing, and right now, not just one object, but who knows the succession of the rapidity of moment to moment of arising and falling away, experiencing the same object before that object has fallen away. This is the way Buddha enlightened the truth that can be directly experienced from hearing, considering, developing understanding, to let go the idea of self. Because when there is ignorance, not knowing the truth of what is there, the experiencing is that. So what is that which experiences? When there's ignorance, it's me, because it experiences no one there at all. So it's I see, I hear, and I think, I like, decide. Whatever is in this life is conditioned to arise by conditions. That's why we learn to understand the difference between citta, which is the result, vipaka, and citta, which is the cause, the karma, and many other cittas in a day. To understand the truth that actually what is born and what dies, no one at all. But ignorance is there, and the experiencing nature which arises and experience is there without any understanding of the truth. That's why what experiences is I all the time. And at moment of experiencing an object to any doorways of the six, it's not bhavanka. So Bhavanka arises before and after that processes, each process. Even citta before seeing does not appear, and the citta after seeing does not appear. So how can Bhavanka appears in between processes? And if this truth is not known, there must be ignorance from moment to moment, from life to life, continue on and on and on endlessly, because there are conditions for whatever arises, even right now. Who knows the condition for this moment, from moment to moment? So we can understand Bhavanka when it is moment of deep sleep. No object no object appears through any six doorways. But citta is there, arising and falling away, keep on until the end of life. And life is just any time. It can be next moment. Who knows? As the moment of Bhavanka is not known, the moment of death is not known at all. Just like falling asleep instantly. And then Patisanti just follow immediately, instantly, as new being, a new karma. That's why from this moment, what is there? The reality which is conditioned to arise to see or to think, while there are other citta in between too, unknown, like Bhavanka in between processes. So what can be known is the nimitta of what is there, which arises and falls away so very rapidly right now. What appears is only the nimitta of a characteristic of a reality. And when there is the understanding of the way it is conditioned to arise in process, just one moment of a reality cannot be known by way of understanding the way it is conditioned to be processes of experiencing whatever is there. So very short. And it's so true anytime, any moment, even right now, depending on can there be the understanding of it, little by little, until it can penetrate the truth of that which is now arising and falling away, one by one as the object. And now the object does not appear as one at all. The world of nimitta is the world of so many things and many people, but the world of reality is no one, only that which is there. When there is a reality which arises to experience only that object, so that object can be known, and then gone instantly, beyond imagination.
John, a minute ago, you said that only one moment of reality cannot be known. I think this came up last week in a slightly different context, but perhaps would you mind elaborating a little bit on that, please?
Is there now Bhavanka? Is it known?
Not known.
Is that Chitta before seeing? Panchatavara Vachana Chitta? Who knows that? And after seeing, there must be the Chitta which cannot see. So it is not seeing. Seeing is only a moment of a reality, the Chitta, which is conditioned to arise to see only one moment and then gone. And that condition the next moment to follow instantly. Who knows? The moment before seeing and the moment after seeing. So what appears is only the nimitta of that which experiences. In truth, so many different jittas arising in succession, unknown. Even right now, there is seeing. It seems like there is moments of seeing, but in truth, it's not like that at all. Just one moment of seeing, but there must be a vanka before seeing. There must be another chitta before seeing. See, that's why what appears as that which experiences, no matter what, is that which appears as the nimitta, the image of that which experiences, arises and falls away. Since the chitta before seeing and the chitta after seeing does not appear at all. So it's impossible just to find out to think about it, but to understand the reality which is not self, which now arises and experiences, can be known. That's why what is known clearer and clearer and clearer to the moment of vipassana jhana, what appears is only the nimitta of nama and the mitta of rupa. By then, no doubt about the difference between that which arises as experience and that which cannot experience. It's heart or its smell or whatever is there. No expectation, the moment which hasn't arisen yet. But because now, what is there now appears as is now, but in truth, now is so very short because now there are many moments of different jittas arising and falling away. So no matter what is seeing of sampatichana or the chitta before seeing or after seeing, it doesn't matter as long as the characteristic which arises and experience is usually as normal to take it for self, but in truth it's not, can be known. Why it's not me? Because it's a reality, arisen by conditions already. No one can make it arise. It's there now. And it experiences an object. Only that. It cannot do other thing at all. Just experience the object. So now what appears is the object of that which arises and experiencing. No matter how many different jittas are there arising and falling away. But what can be known is the characteristic which experiences an object which hasn't been known before at all. No word about it, to think about it, to consider the truth of it. But when there is the words talking about it, about the truth of it, it can condition moment of understanding what is there now as it is, as not I see or I think or I like, but it's the reality which experiences. If that does not arise at all, no world, no thing can be experienced at all. So what is meant world? A world is a moment of experiencing an object. Whatever arises, even it cannot experience, but it's something there. The tree, the mountain, or whatever is experienced, even that cannot experience anything. The truth of that which is there cannot experiencing can be understood as no thing at all, because what is experienced is through eyes. It's only that which can impinge on the eye base and then fallen away, innocent, unknown again. That's why to understand what is world or what is the world is the moment of understand what is there that is taken for the world. Without it, there's no world. So,
And where the object of awareness is one of the rupas rupa appearing through one of the sense tools, for example, visible object or sound. As we've said before, it's not just a single moment of visible object or sound. It must be many, many moments of that particular rupa. And those rupas, the rupa that is the object is the rupa that is experienced for one moment by the sense door consciousness. So although the rupa appears to awareness to last for some many moments, they are actually moments of awareness of the rupa that arises at the moment of seeing consciousness. Thus, they are separated in time.
so the understanding of what that is taken as well can become a little clearer. See, no one at all, only different conditioned realities. And what appears has to arise, otherwise it cannot be there to be understood or experienced. The word of right understanding of the truth is different from the word of ignorance, no understanding of the truth at all. So right understanding begins to understand what is true and what is not true.
Ajahn, can I ask about Phavanga Chitta? You talk about at the moment at sleeping very well. The object of Phavanga can be known because deep sleep. This is true, but when we wake up, we wake up and the object of Phavanga cannot be known because the rupa or the arama bhatyaya not conditioned. No. Now talk about when we wake up and Phavanga Chitta cannot be known. Whatever sleeping well or wake up because it is not appear. But what about at the moment of development, understanding the truth? So, for example, at the level of the Vipassana Jnana, Phavanga Chitta can appear at the Vipassana Jnana and very can understand at the level of a Vipassana Jnana, but this is still in the darkness. But can appear with the development right understanding. You know what I mean? I'm talking about. Thank you.
That can we talk about just one object or one reality at a time? just only one, to understand that which we would talk about clearly.
Yes.
Because we can think about many things, but no, not enough understanding of what is there at all. But if we just talk about one reality at a moment, there can be the beginning of understand the difference between that one and the others. This is the way to understand clearly of what we are talking about, no matter what, just one at a time, one reality at a time. So shall we talk about the Bhavanga Chitta or Vipassana Jhana or what?
So talk about Bhavanga Chitta.
Bhavanga Chitta,
Yes.
do you know the moment when it is fast asleep?
No.
What is there? Is there you or someone or thing at that very moment?
Not I, because not I at the moment of sleeping.
Is there the world appearing?
No.
So we begin to understand, but there must be that moment of nothing appears at all, right? No
Right.
me, no friend, no shoes, no whatever, none at all. And is there that moment in life,
Mm,
the moment when the world does not appear, even no me, nothing at all?
No life.
Is that moment in life? Is it there some moment in life? Or every night? Or even right
Mm,
now? Unknown, see? But there must be such moment. And what is that moment? Is there nothing at all? There cannot be such moment which is known as there is the moment when nothing appears at all. Should we call it something, or it doesn't matter what we call it? But since that moment is different from this moment of seeing, this moment of hearing, this moment of thinking, but it's moment of when the world does not appear, nothing can appear at all. And we call that fast asleep because it's a reality. It's a moment different from other moment. That's why it is moment which does not experience any object of the doorway, any doorway at all. And is it the moment of birth exactly like this too, but different function? Who knows the moment of birth? Does it experience what is there in this world? Can it see the first moment in life? Can it think? Can it hear? Not at all. It's just that which is conditioned to arise, performing the function of succeeding the moment after death instantly, no gap. Just like now, who knows what follows what succeeds what is not known. So at that very moment, it succeeds the death moment of last life. By conditions, it cannot be different. It cannot see, it cannot hear, but it's just the function of citta, which is the first function, succeeds from past life, the last moment of last life. That's all. And it's the one moment which is birth, the first moment in this life. It falls away. But karma still continue, condition life to go on. That being, no matter at that very moment, whether it's a dog, a cat, a whatever, see, unknown. Because at that moment, what is there? Buddha taught about different kinds of birth. But when we talk about this life, human being birth, that very moment is so very short. And what are there? See, by conditions, by karma, not only citta, the experiencing arises to experience what is there unknown, because it's not what is there in this world, not the object of this world. But since it succeeds the patisanti citta, the moments of kusala or kusala before death of last life succeeds on as the object, to be object of the first moment in this life. Just like now, after seeing the mind-up process, experience that. But instead of mind-up process, it is patisanti citta, the same object pass on to the moment of birth when death is there. But the object which has been experienced is the object of citta. Usually it is through mind or manodvara, but since it's birth consciousness, it's not manodvara, the object is the same as citta before death, not the object of this world. And karma does not condition only just one moment as result. It continues on. That's why there is the next moment after the first moment, which is rebirth consciousness. See, it performs different function. It cannot perform the function of arising after the death consciousness of last life, but it arises after the first bhavang, the first citta, the patisanti citta in this life. That's why it performs this function on and on and on when there's no experience of any dowry in this world at all. Even right now, in between each process. So we learn to understand just one reality at a time. Now we talk about the citta, the experiencing, it arises to experience. It cannot be other characteristic at all. Otherwise, there cannot be anything appearing if there is no citta, that which arises to experience what is there now. So citta is a reality which experiences an object when it arises. It is the function of that reality which experience whenever it arises. So even it is patisanti citta, it experiences the same object as the object of citta before death of last life. And when it has fallen away, it conditioned the next citta instantly, anantarapajya and samanantarapajya. It has to be the same kind of it, conditioned by the same karma to condition the reality which performs the function of bhavanga, life continuum. Whenever it arises, it's that life. Even it does not experience any object in this world at all, not through any doorways, but it has to arise by conditions because karma condition its arising, keep on arising, not just one moment to be result, but many, many moments by one karma until it's time for the karma to produce the seeing of what is there through the sense door. But the first process in each life, it is the object through, it experiences object through mind door. No seeing, no hearing can arise as process after moment of birth and bhavanga. So is it clear? There must be bhavanga conditioned by karma until that karma which conditioned this life end, and it produced the moment of, it conditioned moment of chutti citta. No one can do, no one can kill anyone. We take it for, I was killed, I was hurt by someone, but actually by conditions.
Ajahn, is is birth consciousness Bhavanga or not?
Bhavanga is the function, and Patisantichitta is function. That's why there are altogether 14 functions of chitta, and one chitta can perform just one function. The chitta perform
It's
the
exactly the same kind of chitta, Roti, but it has different function at the moment of birth.
Can birth consciousness in heaven or hell, can it experience hearing or seeing?
Never, because it performs the function of Patisanti, and the next one performs the function of Bhavanga. And hearing is a function which is not Bhavanga.
I see.
It's a function, not Bhavanga.
So birth consciousness is Bhavanga, but
experience the object through the 6 doorways. Because no matter in what plane, there cannot be more than 6.
The Patisandhi chitta is exactly the same kind of chitta as the Bhavanga chitta, but at the moment of birth, it has a different function.
right.
That's all.
To
So-
relink. The function
the
is to relink, right? To make the link. Yeah.
To start life, first moment of life. Just as the Chuti chitta is exactly the same chitta as the Bhavanga chitta, it arises with the same Chaitasikas. It's the result of the same karma, but at death it has a different function. So same kind of chitta, but with a different function.
Right.
Sarah, I did not clear about bodies and the birth consciousness. Only the same function, the same with the Bhavanga chitta, but different function that I have heard. But birth consciousness only one moment when Kuti chitta arises. So after that, no birth consciousness. After birth consciousness, no more. And Bhavanga chitta take over, continue the life, continue. Is this that I think I understand?
So during one life, for example, this life, the Patisanti chitta, the Bhavanga chittas, and the Chuti chitta are all the result of exactly the same karma. So they're exactly the same kind of chitta arising with the same chaitasikas, the same cause, and same kusala or akusala vipaka. But the first chitta in life, the Patisandhi chitta, it has a different function. It doesn't have the function of life continuum. It has the function of birth, of linking, as Roti said, at the first moment of life. And then it's followed by the Bhavanga chittas, the same kind of chittas, but with the function of continuing life. And the Chuti chitta, same kind of chitta, but it has the function of ending life. It's the last moment of life. And then after the Chuti chitta falls away, a new karma conditions the next Patisandhi and all the Bhavangas and Chuti chitta in the new life. This is the karma that conditioned the last Javana chittas just before that final Chuti chitta. So the Patisandhi, the Bhavanga, the Chuti in one life, the result of the same karma, and then the Patisandhi, the Bhavangas and Chuti in the next life, result of another karma. That condition this last Javana chittas.
In heaven or hell, can we have a sense process right after the birth consciousness?
Impossible. Right after the birth consciousness, the Patisandhi, there must be Bhavanga chittas. And then in any life, the Bhavanga chittas are always interrupted by a mind door process, first of all. And also at the moment of birth, only 3 groups of rupas are conditioned by karma. The body sense group, I'm talking about in this realm now, the body sense, the sex rupa, male or femininity, and the heart base group. So only those groups of rupas. So no seeing or hearing, no eye door or ear door processes in the beginning.
So after in heaven or hell, can you have sense hearing or seeing after that first mind process?
So after the first, all we know is after the first mind door process, and there must be Bhavanga Chitas, maybe many mind door process, who knows? And then who knows what the first sense door process is, but what we know is at birth, there is no eye sense, no ear sense at all.
But you mean there's no ear and no
ear sense, no
eye.
ear, no eye sense at all. Only 3 groups of rupa: the body sense, sex group of rupas, and the heart-based
But what
group
about,
of rupas.
you're talking also about the hell planes and the heavenly planes? Because birth, as I know it, is spontaneous, which means that the body is already there immediately in heaven and hell.
That's why I qualified it and referred to this life. And then, of course, in some realms, like the Rupa Brahma realms, no rupas at all, so no experience of sense objects at all. So one has to, yes, consider different details for different realms. But in any realm, Patisandhi, Bhavanga Chitas, and then mind or process, first of all. And on Hong's earlier question about whether Bhavanga Chitas appear, like now, even for people who've never heard the Dhamma, visible object appears, and that's why there's so much thinking about what is seen. Sound appears, that's why there's a lot of thinking about what is heard. Attachment or kindness appear, so they can be thinking about the clinging and thinking about the metta, but no one thinks about Bhavanga Chitas, and even now they don't appear. Of course, all these Chitas appeared to the great wisdom of the Buddha, but otherwise all depends on accumulations, as who knows what appears to the great wisdom of his followers, all by conditions, no expectations at all.
Yeah, I'm wondering a little bit about birth in planes where, like, heavenly planes or hellish planes, where the body arises spontaneously, immediately. I'm wondering why there should be like a mind process before any other sense process in those realms.
By conditions, so clinging to existing through the mind, or just clinging to being, to living, to existing before anything else.
Clinging, was that the answer of why there should be a mind process before a hearing process?
When the Bhavanga Chitas are interrupted at the beginning of life, the first mind or process is just clinging to existing, like when one first wakes up in the morning before anything else, just clinging to being, clinging to living.
So if a strong noise wakes you up in the morning, there is clinging to existence before the hearing happens? That's what you're saying?
I would have to check those details. I remember I've read in the Abhidhamma about the details of why this chitta, then that chitta, and which chitta before, like when you're woken up from a deep sleep, it gives the detail of which is the first chitta and the next chitta and so on. So all by conditions and
well, all by conditions, that's completely implied. I mean, I'm
Yes.
not questioning if it's by conditions or not by conditions. I was just asking if there should be always at waking up, there should be a moment of clinging to existence before the hearing.
Yeah, I would have to check. And then, of course, it depends whether the waking up is after the Bhavanga Chittas or after after dreaming. So I couldn't say. Maybe Ajahn can add more.
อาจารย์ thank you Sarah I understand what you explained about Bhakti Chitta, but I would like to ask Ajahn again about Chitta, because Chitta, the function of Chitta is experience the object. So my question is, any Chitta like I consider, or like now I talk about function of a Chitta, not Chitta is experience the object. So whatever object is the object either of the Bhavanga Chitta or object of the I Rupa, doesn't matter. So the function of Chitta can experience object by itself. So I confused about function is only experience the object. The Bhavanga Chitta experience the object, not the sensor door. So I don't know how to say. So I think Ajahn can talk about function of Chitta and not only experience object, but why they different experience the object, like object of Bhavanga Chitta cannot be known, and object of I consciousness can be known. Thank you.
When we talk about the function of Chitta, Chitta arises to experience an object by different function. For example, the first function of this life, the first Chitta performs the function of Patisanti, continue or succeed the death consciousness of last life. It means that as soon as the last moment of that life, Chuti Chitta, has fallen away, no other Chitta can arise as it, except only that which is conditioned by one karma, ready to condition the first moment in this life to be human being or deva or whatever. At that moment, it's not the moment of experiencing any object of this world, and past life has completely gone. But why? This life is conditioned by one karma, which will produce results in this life, is by the Chitta, which Chitta before death experience. That's why before death, whatever is the object is that which is conditioned for the karma, which will produce the first life of the first moment of next life. Patisanti Chitta. So no doubt about Patisanti Chitta now, right? The first Chitta in this life arises to perform the function of nothing can succeed the moment of death of last life, only this function of Chitta.
Sorry, I feel not well, so I don't got and I don't listen. I get lost when you say, so maybe next time come back again, because I feeling not well. Thank you. I get lost your talk about.
But there must be the first citta in this life, right? And the karma in the past, only one karma, is ready to condition the first moment of this life after past life. That's why karma is so different. That's why life of each one is so different. But what is the difference is the moment of experience and object, one by one. The first moment of jit of this life is not the moment of painful feeling through the body or seeing or anything, because it is a citta which performs the function to arise, to succeed the previous life, moment, last life, the last moment of last life. That is its function. That's why it can be result of kamavachara, rupavachara, or whatever by conditions. No doubt about this citta, this function, right? By akama, who knows what karma, which karma, in what life. But to be born such, this personality is by the karma, only one karma, but it collects all other karma, which is able to produce the result in this life too. That's why sometimes one gets sick and miserable by other conditions, which is not the karma of that which condition this life succeeds after past life, the last moment of past life. That's why no one can change to be angel in this life or dog or cat in this life until the karma which produced to be this personality has ended. That's why it can be the result of any karma to produce result after this life. So that's why each citta has its own function. The function of Patisanti citta is only once in lifetime. And death consciousness, the end of karma, which keep on producing whatever has to arise in this life at this personality, when the karma ended by the last moment of this life. Chutti citta. No one can make it arise at all. It's only the moment of the karma which ends up this life. So no doubt about the first function in this life by one karma and the last moment of this life by that same karma. And in between, there must be bhavanga moment. Not seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, the vipaka, which can be conditioned by other karma or the same karma as it conditioned the first moment in life of this life. So the patisanti citta, bhavanga citta, and chutti citta, this moment, is conditioned by the same karma, and it can produce result also in this life. But when it's another moment which is the result of other karma, it is moment of seeing and experience different happenings, different objects in this life. That's why the main function of this life is patisanti, the first one, to continue on as the result of the same karma until death. But the other function cannot be the function of patisanti pavangchutti, but it's conditioned to be vipaka by one karma, or when it's not vipaka, it's by the accumulation to condition moment of kusala or akusala after experience what it's seen and heard and so on through the 6 doorways. So just talk about just one reality. And now, is there any doubt about patisanti, pavang, and chutti, so that we can go on to other function of citta?
Ajahn, at the beginning of today's talk, you said life can happen anytime, who knows? And
You mean life or what?
You said life can happen anytime, maybe next moment.
Shall we
That's what.
and Chetasika and Rupa and the function?
But I don't. My
What-
question was, what do you mean by life? Anything that it's not Bhavanga?
So now we'll talk about other chitta, which does not perform the function of Bhavanka, right?
That's what you call life?
I think it just means whatever arises in life is unexpected.
So what we take for life is that which experiences the object, and rupa conditioned by such that which experiences the object through too. So what is life? Without that which experiences, can it be life? Door, cupboard, bed, window, is it life? Or it does not have, it's not life. It cannot experience anything at all.
So Bhavanga is not life then?
It is because it is chitta. The karma
Right.
condition, vipaka, and vipaka is the word for that which experiences an object. Even karma condition the rupa, like the Hatayavatu and Bhava Rupa at moment of birth, but it cannot experience the object. That's why when we talk about life, it's that which experiences the object, included that which is conditioned by that which can experience object, which we use the word karma. So karma produce the vipaka citta and the rupa as karma rupa. But what is taken for vipaka cannot be rupa, because the rupa cannot experience the object.
So Rupa is not life, only Chitta, right?
It depends, because in the world of Nama and Rupa, that which is conditioned by karma is different from the Rupa, which is not conditioned by karma. That's why the Rupa can arise as it has the Chit Karma as its condition, or Chitta, or Utu, or Ahara. And that which is conditioned by karma must have Chivitindriya Rupa to appear as that which is living thing. But can it experience or it cannot experience? That's why there are two kinds of Chivitindriya. One is that which keep life going on, and the other, the Rupa, which is conditioned by karma, is different from the Rupa, which cannot experience karma, which cannot experience anything. For example, the doll looks very much like human being, but still there's no Chivitindriya to make it as a living thing.
Right.
That's why when we talk about the word, we have to be exactly or precisely. For example, when we use the word vipaka, it is the result of karma, and karma is that which experiences the object, chitta and chittasika and chitta and so on. But when it produces that which can experience the object, that which can experience the object is chitta and chittasika. That's why there are vipaka chitta and vipaka chittasika. But for rupa, it cannot experience the object. So it is the result of karma, but it is not vipaka because it cannot experience anything. Just talk about the truth of that reality, the nature of it, which cannot be changed.
And just to interrupt briefly, Roti, just in answer to your previous question to me about after sleeping, like I said, the text confirms while one is sleeping, when a lamp is lit and brought near the near the eye door advertence doesn't interrupt the Bhavanga Chittas, but mind door advertence only interrupts it. And likewise, when music is played next to the ear, one who's sleeping, or pleasant or bad smelling flowers are brought near the nose, ghee or molasses put in the mouth or slap on the back is given, etc. It's not the ear door advertence and so on that interrupts the life continuum, but always the mind door advertence that interrupts it. So this is the same in any plane. So it's always after the Bhavangachittas and deep sleep are interrupted, it's always by mind door advertent
Yeah.
consciousness.
Right. But that's unrelated to clinging to life, right? Because that's like in the background all the time. It's like a how do you say, like a sawa or something.
So through the mind door process, it can be clinging. It can be clinging just to existing, not yet clinging to anything else. Just like in the first mind door process in life, just clinging to being before
Right.
there's any disturbance or any seeing or hearing or anything else.
Yeah. Thank you. And going back to what Ajahn was saying that about vipaka, that vipaka cannot experience. Is that what you were saying, Ajahn?
No, vipaka is citta and cetasika, but not the rupa. The rupa, no matter what rupa it is, it cannot experience the object and object at all. Because it's the rupa. Why is rupa? Because it cannot experience an object. And the nama, there are two kinds. The citta, the chief of experiencing the characteristic of the object, clear. And the cetasika arises with citta. Cetasika also experience the object, but not as citta, because citta is the chief of experiences, the characteristic of the object clearly. And the other reality, the cetasikas, which also arises with citta, experiences the same object, but since citta has experienced, since citta experienced the characteristic of the object clearly, the other reality, the cetasika, like or dislike that, depending on its nature and its function. For example, that which clings, that which likes, is different from that which does not like. See, that's why only citta and cetasika can experience the object. The rupa, no matter it is hatha rupa or whatever, it cannot experience the object at all. The eye itself, the eye based, cannot experience, it cannot see. That which sees is the citta, the chief of experiencing, and the cetasikas experience the same object, but it cannot perform the function of citta. That's why without understanding the truth of citta and cetasika, they are together unknown. It's not clear. But when it is Ittanupassana Satipatthana, it's not the awareness of any cetasika at all, just that which is now the chief of experience, the object right now.
For example, visual object is vipaka, isn't it?
No, not at all. Rupa cannot be vipaka because vipaka means the citta and cetasika, which is conditioned by karma, to arise and experience a certain object, pleasant or unpleasant, by karma, which conditioned the vipaka to be kusala vipaka, the result of kusala, or kusala vipaka. But the rupa cannot not experience any object at all.
So in the case of visual object, is the experience of the visual object what is vipaka, right?
The citta, the
citta that knows visual object, that's what it's vipaka, right?
We have to know that the citta which experiences the object before seeing, it cannot see. So it cannot be vipaka. That's why we learn how many vipaka cittas there are and how many cetasikas which are vipaka. Otherwise, we mix them all. The citta, which is kusala, cannot be vipaka. The kusala cetasika cannot be vipaka. Only the vipaka citta or the vipaka cetasika conditioned by a karma produce the vipaka. Which experience the object, whether it is pleasant or unpleasant, conditioned by karma. When it is kusala karma, whenever there is the present object, the karma conditioned the vipaka to experience that as its result.
Right. Yes.
So if we go back to birth, so the Patisandhi Chitta is vipaka, result of karma. The Bhavanga Chittas that follow, result of the same karma, vipaka Chittas. Mind or adverting consciousness is not vipaka, it's a Kiriya Chitta, not kusala, not akusala, not vipaka. And then after the mind or adverting consciousness, the kusala or akusala cittas are not result, they're cause, they're not vipaka. And when there is a sense store process, the sense store adverting consciousness is a kiriya citta, not vipaka. The seeing is vipaka. And when I say the seeing, I mean seeing and all the cetasikas arising with it. The next two cittas, sampaticca, santirana, and associated vipaka, associated cetasikas are vipaka. But the citta after that, the Vodapanna citta, is not vipaka, it's kiriya. And then the following kusala and akusala cittas are not vipaka, they are cause. So that's why there are the three rounds, the rounds of kusala or akusala, conditioning, karma when they are strong enough, and the results are the vipaka cittas. So vipaka always refers to the cittas and cetasikas conditioned by, caused by karma. And there are also rupas conditioned by karma. We call them kamaja rupas, such as eye sense, ear sense, nose sense, tongue, smell, and also the heart base, masculinity, femininity, body sense. All these rupas are kamaja rupas, but they're not vipaka because they're not cittas or cetasikas.
All right.
Jivitindriya rupa, also conditioned by karma, which has to arise in any group of rupas conditioned by karma.
Yeah, very, very interesting topic, I think. Yeah, thank you.
Good topic to bring up, good point.
Yeah, to investigate more about.
Yes.
Yeah.
And important points to get clear too.
Right.
So, can any rupa be vipaka?
Only the rupas which are conditioned by karma. Am I right?
No, never. The rupa cannot be vipaka at all. No matter what kind of rupa, the rupa cannot be vipaka, but it can be the result of karma. Why it cannot be vipaka? Because it cannot experience anything. It cannot feel. It cannot be sanya.
But result of karma does not.
But it can be the result of a karma. That's why when karma produces results, it produces citta and cetasika, which are vipaka, and the rupa, which is karma rupa only. But even it is karma, it cannot experience. That's why it keeps on. Never experience any object. That's why it's the word rupa, because it cannot experience any object. And that's why it cannot be vipaka, because it cannot experience the object.
So vipaka has to experience, right?
Vipaka is only Chitta and Cetasika. That's why there are 4 chatis of Chitta and Cetasika. Kusala,
But
Akusala 1, which are the causes, which condition the Kusala Vipaka and Akusala Vipaka. And Kiriya Chitta, 4 chatis. Nothing to do with the Rupa, because the Rupa cannot experience any object at all, because its nature is that which arises and cannot experience anything.
so so when we say result of karma, it doesn't have to mean vipaka. It can mean something else,
There are 2
right?
kinds of vipaka, of the result of karma, 2 kinds. One is vipaka and the other is rupa.
I see, because we usually translate vipaka in English as result of karma. So maybe it's not correct.
Result, chitta and
Understand better and
cetasika.
better, clearer and clearer, that when we use the word vipaka, it has to be only chitta and cetasika, because it can experience the object to feel badly or something like that, see, as vipaka. But the rupa cannot experience anything, but it can be the result of karma. But it cannot experience, so it cannot be vipaka. That's why there are 4 chati of Chitta and Cetasika, to be kusala, to be akusala, to be vipaka, and to be kiriya. Kiriya experience an object, but it is not kusala or akusala. That's why when we use any term, we have to understand the meaning of it precisely. It is result of karma, but it cannot experience because it is the rupa, that which cannot experience. So it cannot be vipaka. That which can be vipaka must be only chitta and cetasika, the result to experience such pleasant or unpleasant objects. But the rupa cannot experience anything, but it is the result of karma. As someone can have the eye base and someone cannot. Why? What condition? There can be other condition by way of the medical, but one condition is karma condition. When it's time for the eye base to arise, it cannot arise because the karma does not produce it. This does not condition its arising. It cannot arise. That's why there are rupa, which is conditioned by karma, the rupa, which is conditioned by utu, and the rupa, which is conditioned by hara, and the rupa, which is conditioned by chitta. That which is conditioned by karma cannot be conditioned by other thing else at all. That which is conditioned by chitta cannot be conditioned by anything else at all. Only one condition, samudthana, for one kind of rupa. That's why have less and less attachment to the idea of self, because understanding more what are they now. The
See,
rupa
so there are other, we can say there are other results of karma other than vipaka, apart from vipaka.
So
Right.
vipaka just refers to chitta and cetasikas, and that's why Ajahn said the vipaka has to experience an object, because every chitta in life experiences an object. So if we're referring to vipaka, it has to be the reality conditioned by karma that experiences an object, chitta and cetasika. But in addition to vipaka, there are the rupas conditioned by karma, but not all rupas, just those conditioned by karma, like eye sense, ear sense, and the ones we
Right.
mentioned.
Yeah, it's clear. I'm just wondering how should we translate vipaka into English? Because if we translate it as result of karma, then it's not just like that. It's not correct, or it can lead
It's
to
the
confusion.
namas, the chittas and cetasikas, which are conditioned by karma. because not all chitas and cetasikas are conditioned by karma, only the vipaka, chitta and cetasikas. And we refer to them as kusala and akusala vipaka, but actually that just means they're the result of kusala karma or akusala karma. Seeing consciousness is either kusala vipaka or akusala vipaka now, but it's not kusala or akusala. It just means it's a result of kusala or akusala karma.
Right.
So the seeing consciousness is vipaka. The cetasikas that arise with it are vipaka. But the eye sense, which conditions the seeing, also, that eye sense is kamaja rupa, but not vipaka.
Right.
Is lopa vipaka?
Yes. No, lova condition. Lova is produces, it's karma.
Can lopa be vipaka?
Yes, I think it can also be vipaka. Yeah.
Never, never,
Never?
never. That's why we learn to understand, to classify cetasika and citta by way of whether it is kusala, and kusala cannot be vipaka, whether it is kusala or akusala. No, not vipaka, see. When it is akusala, it cannot be vipaka. When it is akusala, it cannot be vipaka, because the kusala is chati of that reality, arises to be hetu, which is akusala, or whether it is hetu but kusala. That's why kusala hetu can be vipaka, but akusala hetu cannot be vipaka. To learn more a little by little, to understand the truth of no one can do anything. That's why the kusala vipaka can arise with kusala cetasika, but the akusala cetasika cannot arise with akusala vipaka, because its nature is akusala no matter when. But for the result, the kusala wholesome result, wholesome condition, wholesome karma can condition the wholesome kusala with wholesome cetasikas. Otherwise, there is no difference between kusala vipaka and akusala vipaka.
To give an example, Roti, the moment of birth of Patisandhi Chitta, if it is akusala vipaka, then it must be without any roots, no kusala roots, no wholesome roots, and no unwholesome roots either. So it cannot arise with any roots. So it cannot arise with lobha, dosa, moha, or any other akusala factors. Just it can only arise with the universals and a couple of the pakinikas. But if we're talking about our birth, result of kusala karma with 2 or 3 roots, then there must be different sobana, wholesome factors. So Patisandhi Chitta must arise with many sobana factors such as sati and hiri and otapa, many factors that always arise with sobana chittas. So that's why the answer to the question is whether can lobha be vipaka is impossible, because it's akusala, so it cannot arise with any vipaka chittas. But if the question had been can alobha or adosa or sati, can they arise with vipaka chittas? The answer is yes, they can arise with the vipaka chittas that have 2 or 3 roots, result of kusala karma. So everything is intricate and detailed.
Yeah, I still don't understand very well. Yeah. Because, just by simple thinking, I would think that lobha is like a product of, it's conditioned by past karma. the fact that there is lobha?
It's accumulated. So lobha now is accumulated and it conditions karma that can bring results in future, but it's not result. So it arises by accumulations, by pakatupanisya pachya and other conditions. And when it's strong enough, the chaitana that arises with it can condition results in future. For example, if the lobha is strong enough that one takes something that doesn't belong to one, then it can bring results in future.
But lobha itself is not result.
Lobha itself is not result, it's cause, it's accumulation. So that's why the problems in life are not the viparaka cittas, seeing, the hearing, results. The problems in life are the cause, the accumulated tendencies like lobha.
And what is result of karma is the jittas that experience an object through the sense doors. And as we know, those jittas are accompanied by just the 7 universal jetasikas. If there is attachment, it follows in the jhana stage of the sense door or mind door process, but not at the moment of experiencing the object through the sense door. And the eye consciousness or ear consciousness, citta, which experiences that object, is the vipaka of past karma. So we think of vipaka generally as being things that happen to us, good and bad experiences, or we may think of them as being pleasant or unpleasant sounds that are experienced. But neither of those things is correct. It is the experiencing of the pleasant or unpleasant sound that is the vipaka, not the sound itself.
Yeah. Yeah, that part is clear, but the part of lobha, I mean, lobha is happening to me, like, you know, that's why
there's no lobha at that moment of experiencing the pleasant or unpleasant sound. Just the 7 universals accompanying that citta.
When you say lobha is happening to me, actually lobha arises by its accumulated tendency, because there is the anusaya, the latent tendency of lobha ready to condition the arising of lobha, but it doesn't happen to you or to me or to anyone. It just arises by its accumulated nature because it hasn't been eradicated, and conditions more lobha in future, clinging to whatever object of desire is there at this moment.
So we could say that accumulations are all karma, only karma, right? Accumulations are just karma.
We have to discuss what the reality is that is karma. So what is karma in terms of dhammas? What is the reality that is karma?
Well, I'm talking about karma as cause, as opposite to result.
Right. But it's the chaitana, cetasika. So actually there's karma at every moment in life because there's chaitana at every moment. But when it is the karma that arises with, for example, strong lobha, then it is that chaitana that arises with that strong lobha that can bring about results in the future. So lobha is not the karma, chaitana is the karma, to be precise, but it can accompany lobha and that particular citta. They all condition each other.
But when discussing this topic, you'll hear people saying that lobha mula citta, the citta with lobha, is karma, and that's okay, but strictly speaking, it's only the cetana, mental factor, that is the karma. But we can say that the kusala and akusala jittas are the karma. That's broadly speaking correct. As long as we keep in mind that actually it's the cetana of the kusala and akusala jittas that is the karma.
Right.
And so vipaka is the result, the citas and cetasikas which are result. So that's why lobha can never be result, can never be vipaka. It can only be cause, that which is accumulated.
Yeah, that's where my question came from, because you said that which is accumulated is cause.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
So what is accumulated cannot be resolved. It's only cause.
Right, right. So it's cause, but it's actually not karma, but the lobha can condition the other cetasikas and citta and the cetana, which is actually the karma that can bring results in future.
And of course, it's cause only when it arises. So we talk about accumulated tendencies. They are latent in the citta all the time, but those which arise are with a citta, then that the citta is cause.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
And getting back to your remark about the translation of vipaka citta as a result of karma, I mean, it's not wrong to say that. I don't think we have to, because you're saying there are other realities conditioned by karma, such as the kamaja rupa, that are not vipaka. But it's still correct to say that vipaka is result of karma, just that it's not the only result of karma.
Yeah, but I don't know. But I mean, if I take literally result of karma, then when they ask me about one of the rupas which are result of karma, then it's not vipaka. It's result of karma, but not vipaka. So I don't know.
So I think, as Sarah suggested, if you want to be more precise, you can say that
mental
vipaka citta is the nama, that is result of karma.
Yeah, it's result of karma when it's a mental factor, no? Right? When it's
well, we're talking about vipaka citta in the first place, right?
Yeah.
You want to explain vipaka citta correctly in a way that doesn't leave room for any misunderstanding. So you can say vipaka citta is the nama that is result of karma.
Yeah.
Any nama, which is the result of karma, is vipaka citta.
Right. Okay.
Can sound be vipaka?
No, it cannot be vipaka, Achan.
Certainly.
Because sound is rupa.
Right.
The experiencing of sound is vipaka.
Right. But can kusala citta experience sound?
No, Achan, it cannot.
Why not?
Yes, one moment later. Right?
Yeah. But can it experience sound? The kusala citta?
I'm not sure. Probably if it's a pleasant object, it can. I'm not sure.
That's why we have to learn just one reality at a time to have more precise understanding of the truth of it. For example, can kusala citta experience sound?
I think that the chitta that experience sound is not kusala nor akusala. It cannot be kusala or akusala.
That's why in a process there are many different citta. One citta
Right.
is hearing consciousness. Why we call it or use the term hearing consciousness, because it is that which experience sound clear, because it performs the function of hearing, while the other
Right.
arises in a process, the same process, but it is not the hearing, but it experiences the same object that
Oh,
hears.
that's right. Yeah. Correct. Yeah. It's not the hearing itself, but it's still experiencing the same object, right? Like the photocopy of that object, right?
That's why we have to talk about one citta and one doorway at a time. How many cittas in that doorway, the sense doorway, and how many cittas when it's through mind door, experience an object. That's why they are different, even mind door process and the sense door process.
So in the sense door process, Roti, it's not a photocopy because the rupa has not yet fallen away. It lasts so many moments. Yeah, it's still there.
So the kusala citta, which experience the sound in the sound in the ear door, and the citta, which experiences sound through the mind door, are they different?
The chitta the kusala chitta which
Yes,
experience the sound.
the akusala citta, which experience sound through the sense door, the ear door, and the citta, which is akusala, the same kind, experiences the sound through mind door. Is there any difference?
No, Ajahn, because it has to be mind or.
Otherwise, the ear door and the sense door are not different. Are they different? Experience the object through the sensor and the mind door. If they are not different, no need to say different word.
They are different.
Because one is exactly the object which hasn't fallen away yet. Even that is different. Experience the object through the sensor and experience the object, the same object through the mind door. See? Who
Right.
knows if Buddha didn't teach about this?
So in the terms you were just discussing, one is the rupa itself and the other is the photocopy of the rupa which has just fallen away. That's the mind door. That's the akusala cittas arising in the mind door process.
Right. But when we're talking about the sensor process, there's only one chitta which experiences the sound, isn't it? The moment of hearing. That's what I mean.
No, there's only one citta that
Hears.
the sound. But the other cittas in the sense door also experience the sound, but they don't hear it.
That's why there are different functions of each citta. The citta which performs the function of seeing is that which performs the function of receiving after seeing.
Yeah, but how? I just wonder how can you experience the hearing object without hearing it?
No, the hearing consciousness is the only one citta which perform the function of hearing. So that function is different from Sampatichana, the next one, which follows it. That Sampatichana does not hear, it cannot perform the function of hearing. Its function is to receive the object, experience the same object. That's why it needs Vitakka Cetasika to arise with it. That's why for the 10 citta, the seeing, hearing, so on, does not have Vitakka at all, no need, because it's produced, it's conditioned by Kamma. It has to arise because the Kamma conditioned it to arise by them. Exactly. But after it has fallen away, Sampatichana experiences the same object, but it does not see. But how can it experience the same object? Because of Vitakka Cetasik is there, arising with Sampatichana, so it's able to share the same object with the hearing, but even it does not hear. And this is the way Dhamma is. Nobody can change. That's why
So that
they
means
stay in consciousness through the sense process, but there must be other citta too performing its function differently. Even it share the same object or experience the same object, but clear as hearing itself or as that which receive it and experience it because of vitakka touch on it.
which means that the hearing object can be experienced in various other ways other than hearing, right?
It's
No.
yeah, it's not a hearing object, it's an audible object. It's an object that can be heard, not an object that it's not a rupa that is necessarily the object of ear consciousness, but it's capable of being heard.
And so every citta in that ear door process, starting with the ear door adverting consciousness, the hearing, the sampatichana, santirana, every citta in that process all experience that same sound, but because they have different functions, they experience it in a different way. Only hearing hears it, but all those cittas experience exactly the same sound.
Yeah, that's what I mean, that you can experience the audible object not only by hearing it, but right?
By any of those cittas. So when the kusala or akusala cittas arise in that process, they don't hear it, but they experience it, for example, with attachment to that object instantly. So altogether there are.
So that means that that object can be it's not only experienced by hearing consciousness.
No, by each of those cittas in that process is experienced. So when the attachment arises after the vipaka cittas and the next kriya citta, when there is lobha to that sound instantly, even in the ear door process. So it's the same sound. So that's why Ajahn earlier was mentioning that there are many different cittas, but only 14 functions of cittas. So we talked about the first function of patisandhi, rebirth. And then there is the function of bhavanga, which we discussed a lot. And then there is the function of adverting to the object through a sense door process, any sense door process, the function of adverting. So that sound or visible object is the object of that adverting citta, but it doesn't hear or see it yet. And then there are the functions of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and touching. And then there is the function of Votapana and the function of kusala and akusala, the function of the functions of sampatichana, investigating and receiving before the function of determining, after the seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and touching, investigating, the receiving, the investigating, the Votapana, determining, the kusala or akusala, and the function of tadaramana, which can continue to run through or can continue to experience the object. And then in the mind or process, there's the function of mind or adverting, kusala or akusala, which we've mentioned. And then at the end of life, the function of chuti, death, altogether 14 different functions. No matter what kind of chitta it is, it must perform one of these functions.
Yeah, it's like the first time that I realized that the object, I mean, I knew all the process, but somehow I never really
Same object for all the chittas in that process.
even
Exactly
if it's
same
not,
object.
even if it's not being heard, it just sounds very strange to experience the audible object without hearing it.
What about when there is attachment to the sound in that ear door process? How can there be hearing at the same time? How can it be heard at the same time? It's just clinging to the sound.
So that means that attachment always experience something that it's already not there, right?
The sound is there at that moment because it's the ear door process and the sound hasn't fallen away, but it clings to it. It doesn't hear it. The Sampatichana and Santirana, these are Vipaka chittas. They receive it, they investigate it, they have their own functions. They don't hear it, but it's still the same sound that is experienced.
Right. Yeah.
So many
Very
new
subtle.
points to consider.
Very subtle. Yeah.
It might be useful to listen to the recording again.
Thank you.
We can say then without the citta that hears, which is the chief in experiencing, and it's the chief in experiencing because I'm just thinking because without it, the subsequent jittas don't arise. There is nothing
without the chitta before hearing, right. Without the adverting to that sound, hearing cannot arise. So
yes.
Each one has to follow the other.
Right. But
so by the condition, the hearing has to be followed by the adverting has to be followed by the hearing, and it has to be followed by the Sampatichana and Santirana and not anything else. Yeah.
Mm. And
or by Anantara and Samanantara Pachya, that it has to be that particular one.
And the Javana jittas, they experience the object. They don't experience in the hearing for sure, but well, I go back to the other one. Had there not been that the chief in experiencing the hearing, then the others would not arise.
When you mention the chief in experiencing, so every chitta is the chief in experiencing. So not just the hearing chitta, the adverting chitta is the chief in experiencing, the hearing chitta is the chief in experiencing. So each chitta that arises is the chief in experiencing at that particular moment, at this particular moment of arising. And it has to be accompanied by 7 at least chaitasikas. Yeah. So they experience the object, but only the chitta is the chief at each moment.
So for instance, when the Javana jittas experience the object, there would be pasa involved, initially, right, with the jitta to experience the object, and the other chaitasikas arise and experience it each in their own way.
all at the same time, all at
Yeah.
the same moment. So at the
Yeah.
moment of Loba, the Chitta is the chief in experiencing, and the Passa, all the universals, and then the Loba and the other Akusala Chaitasikas that arise at that moment. They
Right.
all arise together,
Yes, yes.
coordinated, conditioning each other, each with their own function, experiencing the same sound.
Right. And that's coordinated by Chaitana, right?
It's coordinated by Sahajata Pachaya, connaissance,
Okay.
condition and other conditions. Each one is conditioning each other at that moment. But
Right.
yes, Chaitana is like has the function of rounding them up or bringing them together, coordinating in that sense.
Okay. Thank you. That was very helpful.
It's good to hear about and consider more details and different aspects, because otherwise, like Roti said, one just sort of thinks on one's own and just has the idea of this or that, and then one finds that many of one's ideas are not right, and one has to consider the details. And it all goes to show how whatever arises is by so many different conditions, so many different pachiyas. No one involved at all.
I'm going to trace back a bit, Sarah. At one point, did you talk about Lopa being the chief in experiencing? If it's in the Javanajita process?
I don't think I said it was the chief in experiencing. Chitta is always the chief in experiencing.
Got it.
But Loba can arise in the sense-door process.
I see now.
I think the point was it's still the same sound or the same visible object that's experienced.
Right. And I misheard or misunderstood what you'd said. So thank you for clarifying.
I have a question, please. It's regarding, well, supposing somebody kills somebody else, but the duty jitter of that being that's killed, the result of, well, the duty jitter of that being is not the result of that action there and then. It's the result of a past karma, isn't it?
Right. Correct.
So, okay.
So one's actually hurt by one's past karma, not by other people or the deeds of others. Like even Mahamoggallana, who had to suffer such horrendous death and attack before, at the end of his life, but it's a result of past karma. But there are other supporting conditions, like the hardness that's experienced through the body sense, for example, but the main cause is the past karma.
Yeah, okay. It always, well, I know it's an impossible thing to answer, but it often, you know, karma works in mysterious ways, should I say, because it sounds like karma knows, but I've got it all wrong. Karma just, how does it know that this person's about to be killed? They're unanswerable questions, really, aren't they?
That's because when one thinks in terms of the situation, like when the Buddha, when the Devadatta hurled the rock at the Buddha and he got the splinter, and you read it and you think it's all the result of Devadatta's deed, but actually the body consciousness experience is the result of past karma. And then for Devadatta, the deeds and intentions will bring about karma, which will bring their own results in future, and did. That's why for him it was rebirth in the lowest hell realm at the end of life. But for the Buddha, it's actually not a whole big situation. They're just moments of bodily experience conditioned by past karma.
Yes, it is for sure. It was just that there's been an incident in this area of somebody shooting somebody else, and of course that creates chaos. And then it got me thinking, but duty jitta of that being that died is the result of past karma. But those events that happen, you know, yeah, okay, I'm trying to work out karma, and I don't think that's possible.
So that's why in the deepest sense, another cannot hurt one, only one's own karma and one's own akusala hurts.
Yes.
And that's why one can have great sympathy for the perpetrator, for Devadatta or the killer in your area, because those deeds will bring their own terrible results in future.
Yes, yeah, that's true. So no need to work out the situation, just this event happened, and yeah, okay.
In truth, just different kusala, akusala, vipaka, and kiriya chittas, that's all.
Though just a point there, Asita, not all kammas, upana kamma, all arisen kammas have to bring result when there are the conditions. And as you were saying, it is achintiya. It's some of these areas of unthinkable, really. But I think it's an important point to realize that not all kammas will bring result. If they had to, you would never get out of samsara.
Yes, that's a good point, Sundara. Yeah. I think it's just an event that happened, you know, in the area that it's brought up some issues for me to work out karma, but it's, as you say, it's unthinkable. So thanks for the reminders.
Sundar,
It's like the seeing now, the hearing now is just the result of karma, just for a moment, that's all.
Sundar, you mentioned something about not all kammas have to bring results, otherwise we'd never get out of the. Okay, I'm sorry. No question.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you can't once, because the Buddha would not have even probably talked about the Dhamma if getting out of samsara, he wouldn't have talked about the Dhamma if getting out of samsara was not possible.
Mm-hmm.
So there has to be a possibility of getting out of samsara, and we know that's by the development of panya. But I suppose the classic example always is one that often people bring up is Angulimala, and the Buddha did comment about that, the fact that he had done a lot of horrible deeds, but he did experience some of them in his last life, but and if he hadn't have met the Buddha in that life, he would have undoubtedly, or more than likely, been born in hell worlds. But because he developed accumulated panya and many lives, he was able to understand. And also people, just very briefly there, people think that, we're always a mixture of all sorts of tendencies, all sorts of accumulations, every one of us. And actually, in his earlier life, Angulimala, that was what he was known as latterly in life, but he was also known as Ahimsaka. He was actually had a lot of kusala accumulations, which obviously bore their fruit. Not only this life, but also obviously in previous lives. when he was able to understand. When the Buddha simply said to him, I have stopped madness of different levels of akusala. He had some understanding about that because of his accumulations. Otherwise, he would not have recognized, understood what the Buddha was talking about. And latterly, of course, he was able to understand and penetrate those truths at a much deeper level. So there are always many different conditions. And these areas, obviously, as has been alluded to, obviously, we can't say we cannot say what accumulated deed, what deed at the moment of death will bring its result. We cannot say that. That's just going to depend on, that's the nature of anatta, essentially. It's very unpredictable. We can know that, like in the case of, I'm thinking of Ajatasattu, that he would have become enlightened if he hadn't have killed his father, for example. But because that kind of deed, guruku kamma, heavy type of kamma, he had to be born in the lower world, even though he had accumulated the sufficient panya to become sotapanna, but yeah, different conditions.
I think we need to let Ajahn go and continue next time.
Thank you, Ajahn.
Ajahn. Thank you, everyone.
Sawasdee ka.